Hello, what's up guys? Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on a hardstyle kick. One like this one I've made myself, which sounds like... Sorry, I don't know. Alright. Yeah, there we go. Alright, that. So, first thing you want to do is get a initial 909 sample. So I made one myself. I'll put the download for this in the description. I made it with kick 2 and it sounds like pretty bassy. Has the tick and everything that you'll need to sound design this hardstyle kick. So hardstyle kicks usually take equalizers, distortion, specifically asymmetrical distortion, reverb, I use phaser sometimes because it gives the kick a different tone, which helps to you'll see. But yeah, Saturn 2 more in the long run for like the final process of the kick, give it more warmth, and some sort of filter to cut out the highs as the kick moves. And yeah, alright, so if you don't have Untitled Chapter 2 and you produce an FL, you can use the wave shaper. You just have to make sure, I forget what the exact thing is for it, what it's called, but like setting, but for Untitled Chapter 2, which I highly recommend you get because you can also do this multi-band function right here. If you click bipolar, you can change these without it normally, controlling both sides. So you can actually get an asymmetrical shape rather than a symmetrical shape. So what I usually do is I just set up a shape, I guess. Excuse the notification and airplane noises. But so you don't want to get too bassy because then you start over pushing it. But like maybe something like this works. Alright, yeah, that'll work. So then with an equalizer, I'd use the Ableton one. Well, no, I wouldn't. The reason why is because you don't get as much like bands, or you can't make as much bands as FabFilter EQs. And same thing goes for the FL one. So I recommend you pick up a equalizer that allows you to create multiple bands. So this is how you start getting the character out of your kick, by adding frequencies and removing some too. Like that helps if without, with. You can shape your sound by adding and removing. So usually you want to boost the 400 area. And I like to remove at first these areas. So yeah, that's the first setting, sorry. So we can do another one, but also add in a Valhalla reverb, or any reverb works. I just so choose to do this one. Sorry, wrong one. Set it to a really low mix and a really low decay so it doesn't get too much, and bring up the high cut a little bit. All the way, whatever. Personal preference. So I'll do that. Another thing I like to do is change it to linear to get more, it didn't change, to get more angular settings instead of curvy. So you can begin to just try out random things. I find out that in the third quadrant of the coordinate plane here, if you take in the third one, go closer to the x-axis, you get this more washed out. You go down, you get more of a bassy tone. Sometimes you want to distort to here, like for instance, that's what I'm going to do. It's going to go closer to the x-axis. Math people, but sometimes your kick won't sound like it's going to sound good in the end, but it will. Because you do this step over and over a lot. Sometimes adding sub helps. That'll work for another shape. So minimize that. I like to minimize my stuff to, you know, condense everything, make it easier to see, I guess. Now right now you could, well, all right, hold on. Put in the EQ, and then I, of course, will put in the phaser, and then the isotope trash 2, or your distortion type of choice. Sorry, I lose view over minus. All right, so bipolar again. You're gonna want to do that. I'll put it here. You can play with the effects on it. See it. Yeah, different results. Do that, and then so right now you can hear the ending sounds a bit weird. You can fix that with different things. Actually, right now I'm going to show you the multi-band I was talking about. So like right now, this is only affecting the mids from 120 hertz to 2000 hertz. I normally don't really do much with the sub, maybe just give it a little change with a symmetrical one, and then the higher end you can do whatever to give it a different. So doing that, I think, yeah, so going towards the y-axis on that noise gives it a like white noise type deal. I preferably don't like that, but maybe for some certain kicks, you want that. Alright, yeah, let's call that good. So yeah, that's multi-band distortion, which comes with isotope. Another reason why isotope's great. So, filters, normally you can do this with, but I also tend to do it with the EQ itself, is I add a little high shelf and I control the gain knob over time to, let's exile this real quick and increase the size of this. Alright, so right about here, sure. You can do this. So over time this affects the envelope, I guess you could say, of like the distortion to give more room to the mids and stuff, because you don't want all highs throughout the whole kick, because, well, right now, well, okay, that's just the, hold on, let me do this, if I can get the right one. basically this just adds movement and gives more room in the end of the kick for the mids and stuff instead of the highs, which you don't always want. Anyways, let's keep going. Also, sometimes I like to increase it to 2 bars, well, 2 beats, I guess, to listen to it in a fuller ending, I guess. Also, a good thing is to take FL Studio has this, I just forget how you do it, but fading out so you don't get any clicks. Anyways, let's continue. Add another EQ. Let's do another reverb and Untitled Chapter. So also with this process, you don't have to do exactly what I do. You can vary it or like do random things. It helps. Anyways, makes it more exciting, and adding different things helps too, like just random things you wouldn't think would work. So I know this shape usually works pretty well overall. So then distort again. See, we're getting our first character, which sounds pretty good. Which mainly comes from here in the high end. Also, in the end, increases with the sub and stuff. Pretty good. Alright, so now I guess this is the final phase. Is doing it one more time, but you could keep going if you wanted to, I guess, like distort it more, but sometimes you don't want to overdo it. At some point you're going to start overwriting everything and it's going to sound way too distorted. So, and for time's sake, I'm just going to cut it shorter to this. So, yeah, let's just do a regular EQ and distortion, nothing else. So this works overall pretty well. Some things you can do is automate the frequency of some peaks, like I just did for this one, because I want to try it out real quick. Lower the gain on it real quick. Alright. Adds more movement. Movement is key in hardstyle kicks. Alright, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna record this. FL Studio users, you would use Edison, but Ableton, you can just go down to here, click resampling, click the record button with this soloed, and you just record it. So this is our first character. Sure, I've already said that. I'm just gonna do this. White. I'm gonna rename this to tail and assign it all. Okay, so first tail character I can put right here. So I'm gonna put it over here just in case for one reason. So we already have it. Pretty good. So now, one thing you can do, well, what I do, is some people will just start a whole new chain of effects to make different characters, but I use the same amount, just tweak different equalizers and distortions and see what I can change. So if I want more high-end in this next character, I can do that, and less mid. So yeah. And you have already changed it drastically. versus, so this versus by adding that higher bit. So yeah, just tweaking helps, which yeah, right, so now you can call that a second character, which we can record. Pretty interesting. And then let's do one more, and then we have the reverb tail I like to do and the sub tail part. Alright, so yeah. This one I want to be more bassy since we have a high, a mid, and then this is the only thing we're missing. So now I want to go find where I made that high peak. It's not that one. It's this one. And take it out. And give it more bass. So let's call that one good. Alright. So now if we do this, loop it, and solo. Sounds funky, but with EQing and adding in the sub and automating the levels of these over time, we can change the sound of it, add more movement, and make it not as, you know, high and E, if that's a word. So right now I'll just do the sub real quick. Some people use sine waves and some people use triangles. Lately, I've been using triangles because I find a nicer tone in them sometimes. So, alright, cool. I'm just gonna increase the master real quick. Because if that affects anything, we can always change it. So I'm just gonna write in, oh my gosh, sorry. Just write in a MIDI clip and get that G. Alright, so now do this and alright, so now we got the sub of the kick, I guess you could say. So now we take it, throw in here. There's more sub, and then I'll wait to explain what else. So now what I like to do is go through each character, see which one I'd like to get a reverb tone out of. I think I want to do this one. So what I do is I just do this, fully drench in reverb, just like that. So then what I'll do is I'll record that. It's kind of loud, but don't worry, we'll fix that. And we get that. So I'm not going to play these all together because I know it's going to be pretty loud. I'm going to take some precautions before I do that in general. So, oh yeah, also remove the reverb. So now it's time for mixing and automation stuff. So I'm going to group these. So first things first is the sub is a very important part of the kick. You want to create room among the tails for that, which I find doing here. Let me just type in the value. 75 hertz cutoff with an engineer cut on an EQ8 helps, because now, oh wait, it didn't solo altogether. There's more room for that sub. I'm also gonna do this and lower that. It's quite loud. So now it's time to automate. So what I find, if you look at the like arrangement view as notes, like I see this as a 16th note, this a whole beat. I do this, which will allow the punch, it's like almost side chaining basically, giving the punch a 16th note of a beat to hit, while this will come in and ring on the last 3 16th notes of a beat. So do that, and then that'll sound like, which also that click, let's just do this before we get too far. We're gonna have to edit this too. Like, see how at 0 dB it's not always gonna be like that, except for the sub. Well, not always, because I will add movement to that. So over time you want different parts of the kick, different characters to come out. So like this high end part, I probably don't want it to hit as hard as it does right away. Maybe add in like that type of movement versus the stagnant increase, hit 0 dB and drop. It's quite boring at that and takes up a lot of tail room, I guess you could call it. Also, our reverb part, I'm gonna lower that even more, and it's also creating that click piece. I forgot to do that, my bad. So then, say for this one, I want that to hit out like that, but then drop as the high end comes in. And then this one, this is the main part I see it as, so I think I just want to add movement but not change much. So now we have, there's clicking, that'll be fixed, don't worry. It just sounds like clicking P's at the beginning. You start out with nothing, so when audio quickly drops, there's a little pop. So something I do with the reverb part is not even let it like come in throughout the kick, so like that. So another thing I like to do is I'm going to move the reverb near all this and group these into their own group and call this hide end. So I usually just balance the high end of the tail along with, or like dependent with the sub, I should say. So see how it's only sub but there's some? I just play like this until I get something I like. So also another thing you can do is add in little fades for the clicks of these, especially in the sub. Also just add some movement in sub. Alright, so this is what you got. This is somewhat of a tail. I think it'll work well with punch, but we shall see. So now, the second most important part of a kick is the punch. I'm not really good at doing tutorials, but I know that this information will help people, and I want to help people. So I'm going to grab this. And just grab the click of it. So usually how I make my punches is a way I learned from a YouTuber by the name of Brutalizer. He layers drums, snares, hats, parts of the tail. Yeah, basically that. But I myself also layer punches of my kicks So, like, for example, I'll do that one just for the sake of it. Like that. So, right now, if you were to play this along with the tail, it wouldn't match up that well. Because we gotta layer, make the punch like work with it. So, grab a random crash, whatever. And then what I do with the crashes is I actually take a small fragment of it and do this. It's just one little click, but it helps with the overall tone. Also, I just boost it since it's really quiet. I'll mix everything later, decibel wise. What also helps is taking like bassy punchy kicks, like little fragments of that. Let's do this one. And adding that in. And then for the airy parts, you can add in a clap. Oh wait, that's too quiet. That works. That, and then perhaps a snare. You can use whatever samples you want. The punch is another thing that you can like toy with to make it unique to yourself. So right now, this doesn't sound that great, right? But with some editing, some EQing and all that, you can help fix it. So that's what I'm gonna do. Because right now it's overpowering the tail. So that I don't like the whole like end tail of this, so I'm gonna do that. Add in an equalizer. I don't like I just want the high end. Same for this, which I'll just copy this over. Because like I said, I want the airy part. This is the main sub punch part of the thing. I can EQ that just at 30 and like maybe some drop at 200 hertz for muddiness in the punch. Like that. Not much to do with this. Can't really clean it up. So this is where you can have some fun, is you distort it and give it its own tone. So I'm gonna probably go for a more like Sub-Zero project. They have ringy part in the mids, but also after distorting this, it starts to get too loud in the mix. And also, real quick, I'm just gonna add in an EQ and cut out the low end, because I feel low end is still cutting through with that. So right now what you can do is mix everything together. Also, another thing I like to do is group the punch and tail, call the whole group a kick, and drop in a glue compressor. Pull back the threshold. Bring up this, and let's just start adding in what I guess I would call the the mastering part of the kick, or my mastering, for at least OTT, is 1. This is a free plugin. Ableton has it in the but I just like this one because it's easier to use. Extra Records, it's free. I recommend getting it. I usually put that around here. So this allows me to control like what I want more of. So plus high end, more bass. I like bass in my kicks. It's fun. The limiter will keep everything from clipping above 0 dB. Don't rely on too much though, because then you'll start squashing too much. I don't know how to explain it. Let's just call that. Okay. Alright, so anyways, returning to the punch. This is a nicer sounding punch. Another good thing you can do is like adding reverb, but as the beat goes on, you can automate the reverb to come up like this. So then the punch is, and then the whole kick is. You could also just like move this around. So maybe I don't want it on the snare. I want it on this thing because it has that cool thing I want to hear most of. So like, see, but now that's too much. So maybe I don't want it on that. I'll move it over to this. That's way too much. Let's fix that. And also moving it before allows the EQ to cut out the frequencies you don't want. So do that. So let's just call the punch good. Obviously, you'd work a lot longer on it, I guess. I'd say. I'd hope. Until, like, you get it to how you want it to be. So, right now, I'll just move to the mastering. So, I'd call that good on any saturation. I like that one. Presets help a lot. I recommend using them if you're on a go like this. So another thing to do is add more reverb. But not too much like that. Just like, yeah, so something like that. So the overall kick sounds like, which also, by the way, just to finalize the deal, you can cut out the ending parts you don't really want. This is about what you can achieve from doing all the steps I've showed. So let's record it. So this is what my final one sounds like. Is this? Looks pretty good. Oh, sorry. That's going through the here. So then also you could always see like, so maybe I want to try and see That's a bad way to pitch your kicks. Don't do it like that. Trust me. It's usually you'd want to separate the talk from the tail, and then pitch the tail by itself and not punch, talk, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, that's the final result. I think it turned out pretty well. I try to make it as short as I can while explaining everything, but some things just take time. For example, hardstyle kicks. I've been trying to learn how they're done, and I myself am better with more audio based, more speaking, because some videos have no talking, which I've done myself in the past, but I think I found out a way I can include my voice. Some videos are kind of hard to understand, so I was just hoping that maybe I could do a tutorial myself for people that learn the way I learn, if that makes sense. But yeah, this is the kick. Obviously more tweaking, finalizing would help, because these kicks I spent longer on. This one being the final one I made yesterday. I made 3 yesterday, and my final one was better. So obviously this also takes practice and stuff. So for this one, I actually did something really interesting. Is in Isotope Trash 2, you can add convolution, I believe you can call it, and you can edit the mix of it. But in this one, I added a really bit crushing tone to one of the characters, and it worked out actually pretty well. But yeah, anyways, that's the video. Thanks for watching. Hope it helped. Any feedback, videos that you want done, whatever, just let me know in the comments. And yeah, thank you.